Welcome into a brand new season of Talkin Ducks. A lot of excitement for this Oregon football team, as always, as they get started to kick things off against Montana State. We have a quarterback battle brewing. We'll get to that. But then also Oregon replacing 18 starters on both sides of the ball. Who is expected to step up? And then we'll take a look at the Big Ten. Who will Oregon be chasing? Will it be Penn State, Ohio State, or can the Ducks repeat as Big Ten Conference champions? But let's go ahead and introduce the panel and kick it off with them one more time. As always, we have Aaron Fentress from the Oregonian back on the Ducks beat for the first time in, what is that, 5 years now, Aaron?
No, 7, bro. Since 19 was the last time I really covered them. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in. That's my Michael Corleone from Godfather 3.
You're welcome, dude. You don't have to, waste your
I covered the worst,
waste your time with the
Blazer
poverty
scenes.
Blazers. You can cheer for
Blazers
winners.
The Blazers just had the worst 4-year stretch since the first 4 years of the franchise under my watch. So maybe it was time for me to move on.
Hey, don't bring that bad luck over here, though.
With the timely interjection, we have George Wrighster, of course, former tight end for the Ducks. And George, a lot of excitement coming into this year because there's just so many unknowns this year for the Ducks.
Oh, for sure. I mean, see, it's one of those, the team is young but not inexperienced. You have a lot of guys who weren't starters last year. So when you look, how many returning starters? But when you look at how many guys actually played snaps, and even the guys who transferred in who are starters, they played a significant snaps elsewhere.
And last but certainly not least, the original number 8 for the Oregon Ducks, Anthony Newman, ladies and gentlemen. Hugh, how are you doing? Are you ready to run this thing back?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I cannot wait. This is going to be a fun year. There's some dudes on that football team. They haven't played yet, but there's some dudes on that football team.
All right, we've got some dudes on this Oregon football team, and with that, we get started with the quarterback position. And Aaron, we've got a quarterback battle. Dante Moore, not necessarily the go-ahead starter. Austin Novostad is going to be pushing him for the starting position potentially. And let's start with that because we all love a nice, juicy quarterback battle going into week 1. What have you seen? What have you witnessed as far as who might have the leg up as the Ducks get set to start their season?
Well, they won't let us watch practice, so I couldn't witness anything like I did back in the day when I
thought you had access.
Dixon
as Aaron Fentress. They don't let you watch practice?
No,
I used to be able to sneak in Mission Impossible style, but they shut that down. But look, there's no battle. This is all just fabricated for the public. I asked Austin Novostad at media availability last week, do you think you've done enough to start? He said yes, but we all know it's Dante's job to lose, and he didn't lose it. He's killing it in practice. The guy's arm talent is ridiculous. He's one of the more talented quarterbacks the Ducks have had probably since Herbert, if not beyond. So yes, he's the guy moving forward. But as George will illustrate, he and I have talked about this on our Ducks Confidential podcast, which you can catch on Oregon Live or anywhere you get your podcast. Novostad's right there. So it's not like this is a 1A and then a distant 2. This is a 1A, 1B situation, but clearly the guy with the most gifted abilities between the two is Dante Moore.
And George, what do you make of the situation? Because it's one thing to have two quarterbacks that are 1A, 1B. You don't know who you start. You split the reps. The old saying, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. But to have a clear-cut starter and then to have a backup that's almost as talented, that's got to be a really nice insurance policy for the Ducks this season.
Yes, and that old saying, if you 1 + 1 = 0 in quarterback math, it's true if you don't have a for sure starter and you don't pick a starter. Like you can't do the back and forth thing. That's what that entails. But this is not a competition at all now. Dante Moore is going to be the starting quarterback when the season starts. It's like if I win the Powerball, I'm not going to tell anybody, but there will be signs, right? And that's the same way it is with this quarterback battle. Oh, Oregon is posting that he got a Beats deal that Dylan Gabriel had last year. I wonder why the school is posting that. I wonder why he got a Nike deal. Because he's going to
wants
be
to be able
the
to
starter.
listen.
They're just
No,
not
because he wants to listen
it.
to Beats headphones while he's holding a clipboard. He wants to listen to some jams on the sideline holding that clipboard.
Now,
Exactly.
Quick tangent, though, because George, when you got drafted, correct me if I'm wrong here, did you get a new car when you got drafted?
Yes, I did.
Did you get an Escalade?
I did.
Was it a purple Escalade?
Bro, how do you know this?
Did it have spinners on it?
Right?
Yes.
There were signs.
Did you
right
just buy it?
there.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
I didn't have to
I was
tell
like,
anybody,
George must
but
have
there
signed
were
that
signs.
contract. I love it. I love
That's
it. You
hilarious.
can't hide it, George.
Can't
Anthony,
hide that money.
you got more, of course, that you have to commend him in this day and age, Anthony. Sat out all of last season, right? Just to learn the offense and to learn underneath Dylan Gabriel, knew his chance was coming, and now it's going to pay off. And in this day and age where quarterbacks are transferring immediately to play, that says a lot about Moore and his faith in the Oregon program and their faith in him, I imagine.
You can't replace experience. And the experience that Dante had was at UCLA. He had 5 starts. Now, he threw 9 picks in those 5 starts, but he still had experience playing against D1 dudes. You take that to now, I think it gives him the edge. And Aaron said this, he's a good quarterback. He can play the game. And if he's surrounded by a supporting cast, then he's going to play better. But everybody's going to be looking at him. So it's going to be a tough road, really, because he's the new guy. And he's going to make some mistakes, and everybody's going to jump on him. And then when you have a guy who's just as good right behind you, you're looking over your shoulder always. Oh, man, I threw that pick. Now am I going to be yanked? So it's a tough situation, but I think he will overcome. He's been dealing with, a lot of situations with Chip Kelly and UCLA, and then coming here, and then all of a sudden they get Dylan Gabriel, and now he's in front of him. He's ready to play. He's ready to be the guy.
Yeah, you got to remember.
Go ahead.
And this is something that I know, having 2 quarterback sons, is that quarterbacking is literally 95% mental. It is an emotional roller coaster that you have to deal with, and you have to be able to stay cool, calm, and collected through the entire thing. And when he came to Oregon, he knew he was going to sit. When people were saying, "Oh, he might be able to beat out Dylan," there was no chance. He wasn't even going to be given the opportunity, and he knew that he needed to. That he got humbled at UCLA. Hot shot kid, committed to Oregon, went to UCLA because he wanted to be a starter immediately, and a cold dose of reality slapped him in the face. And he was like, this is where I give the kid credit. Mom was sick. He had some good parts of the season, and then it flamed out. And he was like, I need to go sit down and learn. I need to go sit down and get more mature. And a lot of kids in that situation, head coach leaves, all this stuff. He could have gone somewhere else to be a starter immediately, but he was like, nah, I need to grow. I need to develop. And those are the kinds of signs that you look for in special type of players, the self-realization and realizing I need to get better.
100%. Let me piggyback on this as Captain Caveat here, right? So I'm in the camp where he's going to be at least good. We'll see if he's great. We don't know yet. He's going to be at least good. But here's the thing, and George pointed to this. He was humbled. Everyone knew the reason why he flipped was because he didn't want to back up Bo Nix. He wanted to start right away, which drove me bananas because, I'm old school, right? The days when you come in as a youngster and you sit. Even Marcus Mariota redshirted behind Darren Thomas and then blew up, right? But he wanted to go start and he got crushed. Now, the numbers are bad. So in the first 3 games of the season against Coastal Carolina, San Diego State, and North Carolina Central, 62%, 7 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. Then he gets into Pac-12 play, and he goes 51%, 4 touchdowns, 8 picks. He was completely demoralized and humbled in that. But because he came here and sat behind Dylan, because he now knows this offense a year and a half into it, right? He's going to be ready to take the next step with a different level of maturity than he had 18-year-olds coming out of high school, right? He just wasn't ready. He discovered that, and now I believe he is. And the arm talent is ridiculous. If you haven't gone and checked out, even go check out his highlights, even during the bad games he had. He, in every single game where he struggled, he had wild throws. And Stein, the OC, talked about this the other day. When he reviewed him, he put aside all the bad stuff. He said, I want to see the talent because the bad stuff doesn't matter because we all knew he wasn't ready and he didn't have a great supporting cast. I want to see if this kid has the it factor. And to him, according to him, it was wow, 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 wow throughout the entire film session. And that is one of the reasons why they brought him back, even though he decommitted on them a year earlier.
Yeah, certainly makes it very intriguing. The fact that he has now sat out a year, he's learned the offense, he has all this talent, has the proper set of tools. Sounds like the table's going to be set for him. It's just a matter of the number of game reps coming in as opposed to the reps that Bo Nix had and Dylan Gabriel had as well too. But when we come back, we'll talk more about this Oregon offense. A lot of faces to replace. 10 starters. Who will need to step up and what can we expect to see from Dante Moore? Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on this edition of Talkin Ducks. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks as we begin our season preview of sorts as Oregon gets set to take on Montana State. We now look at the Oregon offense, and this is a unit, George, that is replacing 10 new players on that side of the ball, including quarterback. We've already talked about Dante Moore a little bit, but what else should we expect to see from this Oregon offense that is going to have a lot of new starters?
Oh, you should expect that they are going to try to get the offensive line established early because, granted, you're looking at 4 new starters, right? But you got Poncho, who's back, and you have Bedford, who's been in the program and has played some. But then you got Isaiah World, Harkey, and Emmanuel Pregnon, who are coming in, and they have played a lot of football, just not for the Ducks. So their thing is going to be gelling and continuity because that's what you want out of your offensive line. Because ordinarily, the more starts that they have together, the better that they're going to be. But when you place in guys who've played so much in other places, that in and of itself is going to be an interesting thing to see to start the season. And one other note is at running back, right? Running back is one of the more fluid positions in football in that you can have a guy that you expect to be your starter, but then 2 or 3 other guys are going to play as well. So you can have an unseating at running back faster than you can have at any other position because the results are just the results. It is easy to see a special back. And the Ducks brought over the kid from Tulane, Mekhi Hughes, and he was going to be the expected guy to run out and take the first carry or the first snap. And that's not looking like that's going to be the case. It is going to be the incumbent, Mr. Noah Whittington. And we're going to see early in the season who is going to emerge as the lead back. Now, Noah's going to get the first crack, but Hughes is going to get a ton of touches. You can see Hill and Riggs as well get some touches. And then Jordan Davidson, the freshman from Modern Day, I think he may end up being the short yardage back.
Yeah.
And Aaron, what's going on at receiver? Because we've heard a couple of issues from camp and guys that may be able to go, guys that may not. We had some injuries strike there. What about the receiving core? Because this was a group also that was emerging and somewhat new last year. And what do we expect to see from them?
They lost their top 3 receivers, especially with Evan being injured and out for the season. That is tough. However, let's go back to 2014 when the Ducks entered the season with the least amount of receiver production that they had returning because Braylon Addison was hurt. He blew out his knee in spring, and Marcus went out and won the Heisman, right, with Devin Allen, Carrington, Charles Nelson, Dwayne Stanford, et cetera, right? So you can believe, I believe, based on the recruiting analysis of the kids they have on the roster, that they got some dudes who should be able to make plays. The guy, everyone's just excited about DeCorian Moore. If he comes in and can do what Jeremiah Smith did at Ohio State, right? Now you're talking. Now you have no problems. I expect him to make a lot of big play. Well, he's number 1 receiver in the country, right? So
this
he's
is
supposed to be on that level.
But what Jeremiah Smith did last year was a little unprecedented.
I know. Right. So if he
Oregon,
does that, there's no problems. But more realistically, he's going to at least be pretty damn good and explosive. But you need a guy, I think, like Gary Bryant Jr., a veteran guy who's been injured and banged up, but has played at USC, played at Oregon, put in his time, and could be that veteran go-to guy that Dante Moore can rely upon on those critical third down plays. Because hopefully, as a veteran, he's going to run crisper routes, be more disciplined, and get where he needs to be, unlike maybe some of the youngins who still have to grow and learn to play at this level.
And I guess, Anthony, even though you're replacing 10 new players, you have continuity in head coach, offensive coordinator, and with that, a quarterback and more that did this system last year. It's not like you have a transfer quarterback coming in. So despite all the new faces, the fact that you have Moore, Stein, and of course Lanning, who we know is more of a defensive coach, how much does that help with the continuity despite all the new starters?
It helps. It helps a lot, but let's remember the coaches don't play. They're standing on the sideline. Oregon lost a lot.
That's where they're at.
Threw for 4,000. No, Oregon. Yeah, they're not filling that A gap. Okay, Oregon lost Dylan Gabriel 4,000 yards. Tez Johnson had 1,000 yards in receiving, and Jordan James had 1,200 yards rushing. That's hard to replace. Now let's talk about an offense. Let's talk about the key to an offense being successful. You have to have a good running game. It starts with the running game. And George said it. Noah Winnington, I think, is starting. He's a dude. He's coming back from last year. He's been in the system. Start with him. And then they have some transfer guys up front, but they're huge. They're gigantic. Isaiah World is 6'6". Another guy, Alex, is 6'8". So they're big up front. They'll be able to move the ball. That's that Big Ten football. And that's what Oregon needs to do. The receiving core, Sadiq. You got one guy. To me, he's the guy who played. He's the guy who's done something. Everybody else has to prove themselves. But it's going to be a battle for that offense. Offensive linemen playing together, that's crucial. Spending that time together, knowing each other, this is going to be hard for this offensive line at the beginning because they need to know each other. They have to get used to playing with each other. That's why this offense is going to take a little time.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating because we've seen before where Oregon's had some inexperience, at least as far as 5 members of the offensive line playing together in previous years, but they've done a great job of keeping the quarterback upright. It's always that relationship between Dante Moore and the offensive line and whether or not he's holding onto the ball too long. That'll be fascinating to watch as it develops in the first couple games of the season. All right, when we come back, we'll go to Anthony's favorite side of the ball. We'll talk some defense where, yes, they have 8 starters to replace on that side. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Talkin Ducks. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Time now to get to the defensive side of the ball, where Oregon needs to replace 8 starters there. And Anthony, your thoughts on this Oregon defense that continues to stack talent year after year. We know what Dan Lanning's credentials are as a coach. How do you see this unit shaping up this season?
Well, it starts up front. The defense gave up 19 points per game, and that wasn't bad. You know, you'd like to see a little less, more turnovers. But the game starts up front for the defense as well as the offense. The game is won in the trenches. And I think the front 7 for Oregon is going to be okay. Okay, you got 2 returning edge rushers, Tatum and Mateo, who are coming off that edge quickly. Okay, Amari Washington in the middle. So, and here's the thing: you're losing Derek Harmon, who's one of the best defensive linemen in the country, was drafted high. You're also losing Jordan Birch. So that's hard to replace because it's hard to find big guys. And who?
Caldwell, 3rd round pick.
Yeah. So it's hard to find big guys. Everybody can find linebackers. Everybody can find DBs, but you can't find those big boys who can play football. So that's going to be a question mark. And the linebacker core, Jeffrey Bossa was the leader. You know, so that guy, who's going to replace that guy? The secondary is all new. I mean, they're all new. And yeah, we can talk about their 5 stars, 4 stars, and what they're going to do. We won't know until they start playing. The coaches have a better idea than we do, but we won't know. So it's a question mark. That's all I can say because I don't know. I mean, I don't know these young guys. I don't know the transfers. I know one guy, Kingston Lopa. That dude is gigantic at safety at 6'5", 215, and he can run.
Yep.
I'll be watching him. You know, and Dylan Thieneman from Purdue. All-American safety, but he hasn't played in this system. That's why this thing is a question mark.
All right, I'm gonna give you 3 names to watch. Okay, I'm gonna give you 3 names to watch who they believe have special type of situations. You're looking at Terrence Green, who is going to play a lot in terms of the interior of the defensive line. That's a young kid that they believe is special. Obviously, he just mentioned Amari Washington, and he just needs to take the next step. But the next name is Jerry Mixon Jr.
Yes.
Because coming into the season, we were expecting that the linebackers, because they play a 4-2-5 essentially, we're going to be Bryce Betcher and Devon Jackson. Well, it looks like that Jerry Mixon is going to be the other starting linebacker over Jerry Mixon, over Devon Jackson to start the season. And the last name is Brandon Finney Jr. Because we all know that, him and Alford, really, because those are 2 young corners that could play a ton, and I expect Finney to potentially be a starter as a true freshman. So those are the names of young guys that you guys really need to pay attention to in the beginning of the season, because they could have a major impact on not only the starting lineup, but on the future and on the trajectory of this team altogether.
So, Aaron, boots on the ground, they don't let you into practice because you're disruptive. I completely understand that. That's okay. But what are you hearing as far as how this defense is going? Because we know it's really hard to truly gauge the capability of a defense in fall camp. You're seeing the same system day in, day out. You really aren't playing 100%. It doesn't take until the first game or so till you can really judge a defense. Have you heard anything one way or the other as far as maybe the confidence level towards this defense, or really the depth and the talent that might be on that side of the ball?
Well, I think it's safe to say after landing his first few years that if he sees a hole or even a semi-hole anywhere in the lineup, he's going to fill it with a dude, right? A guy who's going to get drafted. He's been amazing since day one at filling those holes. I mean, just not quarterback. We all know about Gonzalez and all these other guys they've brought in, right? So whenever you see the depth chart and you see dudes still around that they recruited, they must feel really good about them. Just like with Dante. If they didn't think Dante could be that guy, why would you not go out and get a transfer quarterback? And why would not any quarterback in the country want to come to Oregon? Because the last 2 transfers were Heisman candidates, right? So clearly they believe in him. So you have to trust in them. The same thing on defense. And George and I have talked about this before. It's like at some point, you got to let the guys you recruited out of high school that you're developing grow and blossom. And there's just a lot of dudes who are sort of bubbling up now where they're going to get their chance. And there's zero reason to believe they're not ready because, like I said, they would have been replaced. As far as what we're hearing, because we can't watch the scrimmages, and those are the main things you want to check out, is that they're not giving up any big plays. Now, it's a positive. The offense has played decently, especially in the second scrimmage in terms of moving the ball and taking advantage of what the defense gives them. But what you're not hearing about are 65-yard bombs to Talkin Moore or a screen to Noah and he's taking it 60 because the defense is taking care of business in terms of execution, which we all know Newman likes to talk about. You got to execute. So if the talent's bubbling up, you did fill in some holes with Dylan Thieneman. You felt you needed a safety to lead. You got that right in some other spots. But if they're playing disciplined football on top of all that, especially against guys you believe are playmakers on offense, then things are looking very good. But as Newman said, you still got to see it on Saturdays, right?
Yes,
they're going to get
correct.
4 games where they should win all 4. The first 4 games should be 20, 30, 40-point routes if you're any good. And then we'll know more at Penn State. But they're going to get time to gel. But I am of the mind that the talent's there and they're going to be pretty damn good.
And here's what I know about this defense.
Time out. I got to call a timeout. I got a question for Jordan and for Anthony. We have been recording this for a while right now. Now, we know that Aaron is now on the Ducks beat. Why so? Am I the only one that's sensing significantly more positivity coming out of Aaron than usual?
Yeah.
You might be onto something there, George. It's
correct.
fascinating. I think now that you're covering them, there's a desire to see them do well because, of course, you're going to travel to bowl games later in the year. So you want them to
Look
continue
at
to
Aaron's
make those trips
face.
because you've got to stack that per diem. that fish pond is not going to build itself at the
Those
end of the
Marriott
season.
points. It's about the Marriott points.
I hear you,
I know
George.
people
I hear
are
you.
gonna be watching this going like this. I know that ain't who I think it is right now.
I love it.
The better the Ducks do,
Welcome,
the closer Aaron
Aaron.
can get to a
Welcome.
purple Escalade. So either way, all right. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at the race for the Big Ten and whether or not Oregon's got a chance to repeat as conference champions or who they might be chasing. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Talkin Ducks. Welcome back to Talkin Ducks. Oregon begins the season against Montana State. Of course, you knew that if you're watching the show. But they're also number 7 in the preseason poll. And this was a team that was number 1 for the majority of the regular season last year. And of course, their national championship hopes got dashed in the Rose Bowl after taking 73 days off, it felt like, before taking on a red-hot Ohio State team. But we look at the expectations here, and George, this is a team that we've just discussed, replacing 18 starters on both sides of the ball, including having a new quarterback that, even though he was part of the program last year, is getting his first ever starts here for the Ducks. You have continuity at the coaching positions. You're part of a loaded Big Ten that's going to be a little top heavy. Does number 7, which to me screams playoff team, seem like the right number for the Ducks? Are those expectations too high, or where do you realistically have them?
Oh, perfect. Perfect. If you think about it, for this team, this is, and how the offseason has gone, this has been perfect in terms of how much hype nationally have we heard about the Ducks so far? Not a lot. And so your expectations aren't through the roof, and you're feeling all this external pressure, and you can focus on you in the offseason because you're not, the toast of the town. You're not Penn State returning everybody and then wondering if they can do it. You're not the national champs. You don't have Arch Manning on your team, so you're sucking up oxygen in your team and potentially being overrated or anything like that. They are in a perfect position to be able to win to make the playoff, but also in a perfect position to be able to stand a loss or even potentially 2, because you are well thought of enough that you are inside of the top 8. And then you are well thought enough where, like, you were number 1 for the majority of the season. So if you lose to Penn State or you lose to Iowa or any combination of things, hopefully they lose none. But if you do, you are still in a position to, at 10-2, be in the college football playoff, not just discussion, but in the college football playoff. So I think that is crucial for the Ducks, because that has to be the floor, is that the floor can't be 13-0 and all that stuff. Like this particular season, your floor is college football playoff. And we saw from Ohio State last year that it doesn't require perfection in the regular season. It requires you playing your best in the postseason.
Thoughts on that, Aaron? Because on one hand, you can have a team that is good enough to go 10-2, 11-1, regardless of the schedule. But then you can also have a team that benefits from a schedule to help them go 10-2, 11-1. And your biggest matchups this year are Penn State. You've got a matchup against Indiana, Wisconsin. You don't know what USC is going to be rolling out to the field this year. And of course, you might have to have a couple of semi-difficult road games, but you aren't going through this gauntlet of Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, along with a very difficult non-conference slate. So 10-2 in playoff, do you agree that that's the floor? And how much does the schedule benefit this Oregon team with so many new pieces?
Not only should they not be 7th, I can't believe they got any votes. And whoever voted them number 1 should be arrested.
That's the man I know.
You can't arrest yourself, though, Aaron.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Relax, Newman. I see you. I saw you flinch like you were going to get up and head over to my house. All right. I agree with George. I think it's fair. I think it's a great spot to be in. I used to have an AP vote back in the day. It is so difficult to do preseason rankings because you're looking at who everyone has back, who left, projections and recruits. Like, it's just impossible. And in this day and age with the transfer portal, you're just guessing, right? And to me, guessing at 7, given the caliber of transfers they got, given that Dante was a 5-star recruit at quarterback and has a lot of talent, given all these things, I think 7 is fair. I think the floor, Yeah, I mean, when they expanded to 12 teams, my feeling was that the Ducks should make the playoffs at least 50% of the time with their resources in the transfer portal, et cetera, right? So, yeah, I think that you want to be no worse than 9. And I say 9, not saying that they're not good enough to win 10, but things happen, right? Things happen. Sometimes you just, like last year's game against Wisconsin. Wisconsin wasn't any good. They almost lost that game, right? They barely beat Boise, which was good, a good team, but things can go against you sometimes. So to me, that's the floor is 9 until we see Dante. Last point here. 2012, after LaMichael was gone and Darren Thomas was gone, we went into 12 knowing they had a lot of talent, but all we knew about quarterback was the rumors we heard, because that was the first year they closed practice with 2011, so we couldn't even watch it. Right? So we kept hearing, we saw them in spring, but that doesn't count. We kept hearing, and then Arkansas State happened. 7 straight scoring possessions. You were like, okay, yeah, this team can win the national championship. They can contend. Well, so that's the same thing this year. I need to see Dante Moore play. I need to see the line gel. I need to see the defense come together. After the first few conference games or non-conference games, then we'll have an idea of where this team is. But I think 7 is fair as a starting off point.
Anthony, your thoughts on the number 7 ranking? I mean, obviously, so much happens between now and the end of the season, but it's really the floor for Oregon. Is it 10-2 in the playoff, or is missing the playoffs with this particular schedule a disappointment this season for Oregon?
Yeah, George, I think you're right. I think something's wrong with Aaron, because I agree with him. And this is the first show.
Oh man!
I mean, this is ridiculous.
All these years,
I don't understand what's going on. I've lost my mind. Okay,
you've matured.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. No. Well, I could care less about preseason rankings. It's how do you know? How does anybody know? And think about this. Think about this. George, you played. Jordan, you played. Aaron, you're a kicker. So think about this. It's just a punter, okay? You lose almost all your offense. You got one guy coming back. One guy. You lose almost all your defense. You only got 3 guys coming back. And if you really take that team and say, oh, okay, we'll rank them number 7th in the country. Woo, to me, I might be a little high. I don't know, because you don't know about the other guys. Think about when you win football games, you have teams that come together, they play together, they understand each other. There's a bond there. It takes time to build that. You don't do it in practice. Okay, yeah, you can help it with practice, but games, when it's live bullets, it's a different situation. That adversity hits, how do you rely on your teammates next to you? How are they dealing with adversity? And we haven't seen that yet. And it takes a few games to kind of see that and see how these guys play. So I'm happy. Hey, 7th, you're down kind of low, but I thought maybe they might be 9 or 10 or even 11 because they've lost so much.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Anthony, too.
Let me come back to this when you're done.
Ohio State is literally in the same exact position. Texas, they're down 2 tackles, got a new starting quarterback, wide receivers gone, the best secondary in the nation. I mean, the better teams in the country are in the same situation, but I think that what gets lost sometimes in the conversation is when we say we got 1 returning starter. But okay, so our tight end Kenyon Sadiq, he wasn't a starter, but he was a very big contributor. You had Pregnon started for USC. Isaiah World played a lot. That's the thing that I think that is getting missed in some of these teams, is that they played so much depth last year in terms of Oregon, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, so much depth that the younger guys played. So it doesn't feel as that, like, yes, it's new starters, but they're not new to the program, or they're not, inexperienced, if that makes sense.
But, okay, let me just piggyback real quick. So what Newman's saying, though, is that that's all well and good. You still got to see it. So, Newman, you started 4 years. You started 4 years at Oregon, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
You're 4-year starter. So imagine your senior year, you transferred to an entirely different program. And not only to a program that you didn't know anybody, but half the players didn't know each other.
Right.
That takes some doing. Chemistry matters.
Yes,
Playing together and cohesion matters. But to George's point, everyone's got the same problem. So it kind of balances it out, right? So, that's why I tend to believe that they're going to be okay, because the dudes they brought in are dudes and vets, and they got a lot of young cats who have been in the system, even though they haven't been at the forefront. So I kind of feel like it'll come together. But if we took this team and transported it back 10 years ago and they had to compete against guys who've been playing together for 3, 4, 5 years, I think they'd be in trouble. But that's not the case today, because almost everyone's dealing with the same problem.
I'll say this. I think from now on, you look closer at where do you finish in the Big Ten, because this is a conference that will send 3 teams to the playoff every single year. And if you look at your schedule, look how the conference is slated, Oregon should finish 3rd in the Big Ten. Right now, you've got Penn State that is neck and neck with Texas for number 1 overall. There was just tens of votes that separated the 2 of them for first place overall. Ohio State's number 3. Oregon is now the 3rd best team in the Big Ten when you look at the AP top 10. Then it's Illinois, it's Michigan, who Oregon doesn't play, neither one of those teams this year. Indiana is the only other ranked Big Ten team at number 20. So if you're navigating the schedule and you're the Ducks, you just want to finish 3rd or better in the Big Ten. That gets you in the playoff, and that's going to be a matter of strength of schedule. And I think this is a fantastic schedule for the Ducks this year, the way that it slants out, where you're really only playing one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the conference. So we'll see how it plays out. It's fun to talk about, but when we come back, we will get started with Oregon's year. We'll give you our quick thoughts on the matchup against Montana State and what we want to see as we close up shop in this edition of Talkin Ducks. Welcome back. Time now for our Road to Victory, brought to you by Guarantee Chevrolet. And we now take a look at Oregon's matchup against Montana State. And guys, real quickly, just give me your thoughts, score prediction, and what you want to see from the Ducks in their season opener. Let's start with you, Anthony.
Well, as a football coach, I'm looking at dealing with adversity. When you mess up, what do you do next? You got 60 plays on offense, maybe 50 plays on defense. It's always about the next play. And you got guys trying to get playing time, guys trying to get on the field. Make me play you. Be that guy, be that dominant player. And it doesn't matter if you're playing, Montana State or it's Penn State. Be that same player who's consistent on the field. Consistency is huge when you're going into college, when you're going into the NFL. That's what I'm looking for. I don't think they're going to have a problem with Montana State.
Give me a score.
No disrespect. What's that? I'll give you a score. 49-14.
Perfect. They win one for the Titans during that as well, too, Coach. All right, George, what do you got in this one?
Oh, I'm going to go we'll go 52-3.
52-3. I like it.
Mind you, Montana State is a good FCS program. Actually, I'm gonna go 52-10.
Ranked number 1.
I'm gonna go 52-10 because they may sneak in a touchdown at some point in time, but any more than 17 points is way too many.
Aaron.
Does anyone remember what the score was last year against Idaho?
All I know is I don't want to see Montana State score in the first quarter. It was closer than you wanted it to be.
24-14 was the final. It was only 14-0 at halftime. So number one, that shows what can happen when you got a bunch of guys thrown together and you're trying to figure things out. On the other hand, they took that and they went all the way to being ranked number 1 and went 13-0, right? So it doesn't mean the end of the world. Yes. So for me, 47-17, somewhere in there. I don't think the score matters as much as I just want to see evidence of talent. Like I want to see some displays of elite athleticism, dominating the line of scrimmage. I want to see Dante look confident in the pocket, make some plays, Decory Moore score a long touchdown, whatever. Just some signs that there's some gifted dudes there, and then build for the next week. But how much they blow them out by, I think we saw last year, it doesn't necessarily matter, but I think 47-17 is a nice little number.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of Talkin Ducks. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next week after Oregon's game against Montana State.